Hello.
Oh, hello. Welcome back to Whyte Noise.
Hello.
With a brand new guest.
This time it is the lovely Megan Ghiroli. Did I get that right?
You did. You did.
Yes.
Good job, Ryan.
You know what's funny is I don't say your last name very often, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, so much pressure to say your last name.
It's like the GH throws people off. And like when I was a kid, I'm aging myself, but it was like around dinner time, that's when the telemarketers would call and they would never know how to pronounce my last name. And I just remember my mom one time, picking up the phone and she just went, "There are no gorillas who live here," and he slammed it down.
Well, because it's spelled Ghiroli. That's hilarious that they said gorilla.
Gorilla. No! Megan and I know each other from, we got to know each other up in Woodstock, New York. That's where we started to hang out. And I don't know, Megan is a booby mug aficionado.
Which we were just talking about before we hit record. Megan has a spectacular mug that is covered in all different kinds of illustrations of every shape, form, celebrating breasts.
Floppers, walkie tits, long distance. Handfuls. Yeah, it's kind of like when they're a little smaller and they're not so close together.
I feel like that mug expresses like how you feel about boobies, how I feel about penises. I feel like I need a penis mug now because I like all of them.
We'd have to come up with like different names for them. We could have all the different varieties and then have to name them all.
Because your boobs are labeled.
Do you have a favorite pair on there?
I mean, it's somewhere between the handfuls and the long distances, I think.
Okay.
The beach balls are number 3, I think.
Those beach balls are those nipples.
Yeah.
Are
a larger areola is what they're going for in it. Yeah.
It's a grand areola. Just makes me think of that Robin Williams. Did you ever see when Robin Williams did the special? I think it was like Robin Williams Live on Broadway and HBO filmed it. And he had a whole big thing about boobs or tits. And he was like, fake tits, I don't like fake tits. They're like Nazis. They don't sing, they don't dance, they just...
Apparently, sometimes when you get I don't know by personal experience, but once you get a boob job, they often like start up kind of near your neck and then they kind of settle.
They're like, I got way too much attention. I don't like this. I need to stay safe.
Yeah.
And then they find their safe space and they're like, okay, here I am.
Just breathe. They can settle in.
Well, I love Megan, boobs. I've done a very awkward job per usual of introducing you here. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the people?
Yeah, Megan, I don't really know you well. So
yeah.
So what's the elevator pitch?
Oh my God. I like 10 minutes before you called, I was like, let me do some work. And I literally scheduled a meeting called elevator pitches. So
really?
That is the phrase of the day, apparently. Who knew?
Oh, wow. Who knew?
Well, I met Ryan. So we live in Woodstock on the same, we now call it Queer Mountain because it was sort of recently there's been like turnover and it's been pretty queer, which is amazing for us, or for me. I don't mean to speak for you, Ryan, but.
No, it's amazing for me too. It's like,
I hate queer people.
I'm like, why are we here?
I look in the mirror and I go, screw you.
How did you know it was embodied by my own self-loathing, Michael?
I just figured because that's the way I work. Sorry, Megan, I cut you off.
No. And then my partner, Eileen, and one of my partners, Eileen and I, we have a queer meetup. It's once a month in Woodstock. Yeah.
Called Queerly. I missed it last week and it was a legendary one.
We had drag bingo, which is always like a hit with this amazing drag queen, Cookie Dough, DOE. And she just killed, we sold out the restaurant for like the first time. It was great.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone's listening and wants to drop in, you can find Queerly on, I follow predominantly on Insta.
Yeah, that's probably the best, under Queerly.
Queerly.
So nice. You have to say it twice.
You guys also did a tremendous job of putting together the first Woodstock Pride this year, which I think is, super notable. It was like legendary. The number of like events and things to do and places to engage and the parade. It was pretty rock star. And also I give a shout out to We'll have Eileen on here soon, and I'm sure she'll get to speak too. But she deserves a shout out, obviously, as well.
She's the big boss.
Yeah. So do you know what you're here for? Do you know what you're going to do?
Sort of. I've listened to the podcast a few times, which is really fun. So I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, we each have 10 minutes to riff on the topic that was given to us by last week's judge. And then you just arbitrarily choose a winner by whatever that means for you. I very rarely win, and then I'm on a streak, so I'm so excited. Thanks to Starlight Express.
Don't set the stage. Don't.
I've learned that if I do this, it helps. Only because Ryan won for like 3 months straight. But no, literally, whatever it means for you, and then you'll give us our topic for next week.
Awesome.
I will say it is pretty entertaining because I listened to our episode from last week this morning just to review before it goes out on Monday, and Caroline kind of came up with in the moment what her metrics were or her rules were for choosing the winner, and it was kind of funny. You just kind of sit there and they're like, well, there were no rules, but that's what she came up with. So it's kind of cool like that.
It is fun to hear like how people choose different things. And sometimes it feels like you have an advantage when the judge is like your friend, like you two have a connection. And I've brought in so many people where I'm like, this is one of my best friends, and they still chose Ryan. So, needless to say, I've lost a lot of friends on this show.
Michael, is it possibly my showmanship?
Damn it, it probably is.
Ryan's voice is like very, like sometimes I like dream about Ryan's voice just reading me anything. Like it could be the instructions to like how to put together. Well, I was going to say IKEA furniture, but there's really no words with IKEA furniture.
I'm blushing.
But that doesn't mean you're going to win, Ryan. Doesn't even mean you're getting an extra point. We're starting out at a blank slate. Don't worry, Michael.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know. I would listen to Ryan read the phone book if they still existed. All right. Well, shall we jump in?
Who's going first, Megan?
Oh, I'm going to pick Michael.
Oh, okay, great.
Nice.
Don't worry, Ryan. We're back to my normal style. Let me know when we're ready to start.
All right, let me get the clock up. Sorry, I'm unprepared. All right. 10 minutes.
Okay.
Starts now.
Okay, this 10 minutes is a little daunting, and let me tell you why, Megan. I was fully planning. I was very excited for Showmanship because I work in entertainment. I've worked in entertainment forever. I did my first show as an actor when I was 6 in The King and I, a very non-PC production of The King and I. And if we're talking about showmanship, I will humble brag about my performance in this. And this actually goes on to another story. But so I super hyperactive as a kid, and my mom always loved theater. And so she was like, I grew up in Syracuse, New York, where luckily there were tons of theaters, because way back in the day, it was a tryout town for Broadway shows. And so sort of a legacy from Syracuse is there's lots of theaters still there. So my mom got my sister and I, she was like, well, let me see if either of them would want to do shows. And so we both auditioned for this production of The King and I. This was back in the day when white kids could play Siamese kids, as they referred to them in the show. And we both got it. My sister hated it. I loved it. My big moment was I was the kid who, if you know The King and I, it's about, this British woman who goes to, at the time, Siam and works for the king. And she wears big hoop skirts. And there's a scene where she's presented to him and his, many wives and children. And we get very confused because we think her body is shaped like that. Because they've never seen a dress like that. And so one of the kids, when we're bowing to her, I looked up her skirt to see what her legs looked like. And it's this very fun little moment. And little 6-year-old me I was just, doing what the director told me. And then on opening night, it got this big laugh. And I was thrilled. So needless to say, that bit got bigger and bigger and bigger as the run went on, to where I was like, whoa, like this big, like huge reaction to like, what's under there? And thank goodness the woman who played Mrs. Anna thought it was very funny as well. So she started to pin little things to her petticoats underneath, like up high enough that the audience wouldn't see it, but pin like funny little treats for me to like find, like dollar bills, like things to surprise me. So my reaction always stayed nice and big. And that's when I learned that I loved performing.
Michael, is this why when you've been to a strip club, you try and take the money off the women? Is this
exactly? Exactly. Yeah. I'm the worst at a strip club. I've been kicked out so many. I'm not impressed by the naked women. I'm just
this is funny for many reasons.
But yeah, that's where I sort of like was bitten by the bug. My sister hated it. She was like, "Get me off the stage. I don't like this."
What's her name? Mrs. what?
Oh, the character?
No, like the actress.
Oh, that did it? Aubrey Luddington was her name.
Ooh, where is she today?
She's still in Syracuse. Yeah, she was incredibly talented. She still works in Syracuse a lot. But yeah, so that's when I learned that I loved it. And then it's funny because I feel like I'm always looking for that reaction. Sometimes, like, not always in the best ways. And I ended up going to school for acting. And I remember my senior year of drama school, I had a teacher who was like, Michael, you're not a great actor, but you're a very good entertainer. And there is a difference, and I think you should know that. And I remember at the time being so offended because I was like, I'm in drama school. How dare you? And then as my life went on, I was like, oh, no, she was right. But you know your strengths. But I think that's why growing up, though, I really latched onto performers who were like that. Like, anyone who knows me knows, like, one of my favorite of all time performers is Debbie Reynolds. And looking back, I think, and I actually ended up making a list of like my favorite people. And I was like, oh, there's a theme here. It's like Debbie Reynolds, Bette Midler, Dick Van Dyke, Carol Channing, these people who like not necessarily were the greatest. Like Debbie Reynolds is not God's gift to singing or really acting. She was a great dancer, but still at the time that she was performing, there were better dancers. But when you watch clips of her live, especially when she was doing like her Vegas shows, she was such a spectacular entertainer.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've always been drawn to those kinds of performers. Or even weirder ones, like I say, Carol Channing. Like Carol Channing was like a weird person who would probably really struggle to make it now. But when you watch, especially when she was live, like the clips of her live, it's like that woman knew how to work an audience. And that to me is like the definition of great like showmanship. Because then I think there are performers, and I'm going to say something that people are not going to like. I love Taylor Swift, but I don't think Taylor Swift is a great showman. And I think that's why I've never ended up being like a mega Taylor Swift fan, as opposed to like a Beyonce fan, where I think Beyonce, amazing singer, amazing dancer. But when you see Beyonce perform, and I was just thinking about this recently because she did that big, for Cowboy Carter, the performance for the Christmas football game. When she is live and she has an audience, even if she's lip syncing, whatever, it is just, even you can see it through the camera. Like, it is palpable what she's doing. And then you watch Taylor Swift and it's like, I love Taylor Swift songs, but there's something about the performance of it that to me it always falls just a little bit flat.
Taylor Swift is you get what you get.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I thought I was going to get, I could hear myself getting canceled in real time as I said that.
I think she's actually like, over her career, I think she's had a vast improvement.
Yes.
Like,
yes. But she's not inherently like a showman.
Yes.
Which is not a bad thing. But
Beyonce's showman has a name.
Does it? What?
Yeah, Sasha Fierce. There you
go.
That's her onstage character. Yeah. I think I learned that on Oprah.
Because I was
Did you see when she got her hair like stuck in the fan and she just like kept going?
Yeah.
Have you seen that clip?
I've never seen that.
And I'm like, ow, that must have hurt so much to have your hair like stuck in a fan and you just keep singing while like people run out on stage and untouched.
And you just power on.
Yeah.
I think Gaga's kind of the same, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Gaga's one of those.
The stage performance is like theatrical, engaging, insane. Like it's... And in some levels, I think better than even some of the music. So, yeah.
Yeah. And even like, and for the Taylor Swift fans out there, like even like Barbra Streisand is one of my all-time favorites. But she is also not a great performer. When you see her, I think because she famously has really horrible stage fright. But another one of those that I think is a brilliant recording artist and a great, like, I love her movies. But then you put her live on stage and she's always really nervous. Judy, Liza, Barbara, Bet, these are names I shan't forget. Of that bunch, you know, and again, two amazing performers, Judy, Liza, plop them on a stage and forget it.
Yeah. I love Liza Minnelli. I mean, she's just cuckoo bird. Like, I love her, just everything about her.
Oh, yeah. And she talks about like how they were like, you know, Liza being such a great, again, showman. Apparently, like, oh my God, when you watch Liza sing New York, New York at that one performance where I think she's at the Statue of Liberty and she's in this red sequin outfit and she is just coked out of her mind. And she is just, I mean, I can only imagine what that was like live. But like a lot of people say, like her, Liza with the Z, I think it's Liza at Carnegie Hall was one of the greatest like live performances of all time. And she talks about how because of her mom, and she was like, they were like, what made you such a great performer? And she was like, well, my introduction to performing was when my mom had me on when she was live, when she was doing concerts, and we would do duets. And then she was like, I think I was 17, and she just pushed me center stage and she was like, do a solo, baby, go for it. That's my darling. And Liza was so excited. And she was like, my first big solo. And this is my moment to shine. And then Judy went and sat on the edge of the stage and upstaged her entire performance. She sat while Liza finally had her big solo, and Judy sat right on the edge of the stage and spent the whole song going, that's my daughter. Oh my God, Liza, isn't she wonderful? Isn't she marvelous? And like clapping and just completely upstaged her performance. And she was like, that's when I had to fight against that as a kid. And she was like, that's how I learned how to perform, was just competing against my mom, who was arguably one of the best performers of all time.
Are there any, like, we've talked about a lot of different women, and it just like, I think it's the right focal point, but are there any men that fall into this category? Because I, for example, like, I think about Bruce Springsteen, who I think is an incredible lyricist and writer and singer, but like, I don't find him terribly entertaining on stage.
Oh, see, Bruce was actually on my list.
Oh, really?
No, I've never seen him. Oh, what's that mean?
It's all right.
Time?
It's
Oh,
a
that
time,
means our
but
10
keep
minutes
going.
are up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because I saw Bruce, I've seen him twice, and Bruce with the E Street Band, he went for 4 hours. And I think Bruce is one of those, I don't think Bruce is God's gift to singing. I think he writes the same song over and over, or he tells the same story over and over again about this blue collar guy who's just trying to make it work. Like, he kind of has written the same character over and over, and he great lyrics, don't get me wrong. Like, again, great lyricist. But when I saw him live, it all clicked. He put on, with the band, one of the most spectacular shows I've ever seen. The amount of energy coming out of that man for 4 hours with no break was unbelievable. And the only reason he stopped was because the band was like, we're done. Like, we gotta go. Like, we're tired.
Where did you see him?
In LA. He played, it was a stadium tour. It was his last stadium tour he did with the E Street Band. And it was at USC, I want to say, like in their big stadium. And it was unbelievable. I think he needs the band, though. I think he needs to feed off of that. Then I saw him in a solo show and he was not great. Okay, Ryan. Ryan usually is much more thorough than me. So here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah,
I'm
I
ready.
think I'm ready.
And
I'm like, yes, I'm ready.
here, well, you're the most important person, Megan. Okay, and start.
When I initially kind of thought of showmanship, I have to admit, I actually kind of thought about it negatively, right?
Oh.
I was kind of like an arrogance to it sort of thing. And I honestly didn't know where I was going to go with it, because I like the idea of like showmanship, and I think this is built on my own kind of biases, like being a bit humble about things, right? But I went and got the definition of showmanship, and I was like, okay, I think I've gone the wrong direction with this, and it's actually a very positive thing. So the actual definition of showmanship is the art of performing, presenting, or delivering something in a way that captures attention and leaves a lasting impression. And the kind of key components to it are charisma, right? So I'm thinking about the people we just talked about, and there's a ton of charisma there. There's storytelling. There's timing and practice that comes with what they deliver. There's visuals and presentations. There's authenticity, and there's audience engagement. And like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about Beyonce. I'm thinking about Gaga. And actually now, like, I am leaning more and more towards the Bruce piece of it, because I feel like he really does hit all of those components. And, you know, I would say, I think the charisma and authenticity are maybe some of the most important ones. But my mind kind of bridged over to where does showmanship in our lives end up becoming, or at least where I think it ends up being kind of important. And oddly enough, I went to thinking about bad news and how you deliver bad news. A little bit of background in how I kind of arrived here. And I'm going to talk about my mom for a second. So my mom is a lifetime teacher and taught math at all levels in grade school. And at the end of her career, got into professional development for teachers. She had a heavy focus on cognitive coaching upfront, which actually I could do a whole nother discussion on that. And Michael, you'll probably be familiar with this with your mom. Your mom's a psychologist.
Yes.
Where like, I got to the point with my mom where I'm like, I'd stop asking me fucking questions and just be my mother.
My mom was more like, stop analyzing everything I'm saying and then using it against me when you're mad at me.
You're like, I need you to just listen and give mom advice. This has come up multiple times. But she got very heavily in that in terms of how to help teachers be better. And then later on got into presentation skill sets that help drive better outcomes in the classroom. And she had shared with me this idea of physical and spatial anchoring. Are either of you familiar with this?
No, but it sounds like things we did in drama school, just they use different terms.
So when it comes to delivering bad news, and I want to be clear, this actually works in family situations. This can work in one-on-one situations. I personally used it at work. It's where when you need to talk about something negative, you go place yourself in a different space in the room to deliver that message and explain that thing. And then you actively move yourself to a different space when you're transitioning to the positive message. So there is, what it does is it associates the bad thing with a given space. It actually creates a movement or a transition or a transformation. And then it gives the audience active and physical perspective to what you're sharing. So I'll just give you a great example, or an example where I used it, and actually I feel like I kind of know it ended up working. I took on a brand new organization, and I had to reorganize that group, and unfortunately had to eliminate some roles. So some people left. And as you'd imagine with organizational change, like, you know, this freaked people out. People were thinking, am I next? Like, what's going to happen now? And, you know, you had to be able to get these people in and be like, look, you know, this is over. We're one team now. Gotta drive this forward. So I actually got a massive conference room, one of these ones where it was like, imagine the super long table with like 50 people, right? And my team's not that big. And what I did is I had everyone on the team sit at the front of the room. I had the front of the room lit fairly bright. I had the back of the room more dimly lit. There's like candy. So I took all the candy bowls and I moved them to the front of the room. So when I arrived for the meeting, I walked into the back and I was like, look guys, I understand that this is a time of change. I understand that you're concerned because people are no longer with the group. And I understand that, you know, change like this is hard. And you might be questioning your own position. You might be questioning where you belong, et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of stopped and I'm like, yo, do you have any questions? Like, you know, I got some questions and I went through those things and some of it was hard. And when it paused, I took myself and I walked myself to the front of the room into the brighter light. I immediately looked at everyone. I said, hey, look, we have candy here. Do you guys want some of the candy? And like passed it around, and everyone passed around and had a little bit of the candy. And I was like, so guys, new organization. Here we are. Off we go. Here's all the great things we're going to do. Here's how we're all going to work together. These are the outcomes we're going to achieve. This is what it's going to do for your career. Blah, 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 blah. Positive, 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 positive. And then had some of my other leaders stand up and talk about like what they thought were going to be positive. So it actually like created a whole new environment. I allowed that group to leave the negative in the back of the room where it was darkly lit. And I allowed them to move with me into what today or what the future.
Quite literally a brighter future.
Yeah,
and
brighter
you gave
future.
them candy. Like, you would have won me over. Unless it was candy corn. But like,
I love
if
candy
it was
corn.
if it was any form of Reese's, I would have been like, bring on this new us.
You and me might go with the peanut butter candy. Yeah. It's like coming out of the dark. Like literally. I'm just moving.
Yeah, apparently this really ties out to a lot of human behavior because you create that visual engagement, right? And even if you think about, it's kind of funny if you think about the performances we talked about before, it is about visual engagement. It is that kind of storytelling taking you from one place to another. There's emotional closure with it. And if you think about all the performers we talked about before, depending on what the song is and what the moment is, they actually do provide various forms of emotional closure and then move you into different feelings. And then you basically have like a guided focus. So you're not allowing people's minds to wander off and think about the other things. You're keeping them attuned to the thing and bridging into a brand new space. But anyway, I think it's one of the coolest, like it works. It's actually pretty well documented. And I think it's one of the more interesting facets or aspects of showmanship.
My God. So now we know if you take either of us into like a dark corner, bad news is coming.
Well, I'm not going to take you into the dark corner. I'm going to leave you in the bright and light space, and I'm going to go stand in the dark corner.
If all of a sudden we're arm in arm, and then Ryan like goes off into the dark corner, and you're like, oh no,
brace yourself.
What's coming? And then if I see you, but I like it. I've never.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, I burnt the pilaf.
Yeah. Not the pilaf.
Dinner is ruined.
We won't be having rice-a-roni this evening.
No. I love rice-a-roni.
I do too.
Not even gonna lie. Ryan, that was your 10 minutes, by the way.
Interesting. So now I have to pick a winner?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this is very difficult because
just remember, you do have to live near me.
You are in Queer Mountain.
We are on Queer Mountain. Yeah.
You are. Queer
No
Mountain.
pressure.
Well, see, so I thought I was just gonna. I thought like in my head when I was coming to this and like thinking about how I was going to judge this, I was like, I'm gonna go on pure emotion. Like, where did I feel the most engaged? Where did I feel like I wasn't? You know how like your brain automatically like comes at like distractions come in or you think about things and like so in my head I was like, my only judging criteria is going to be like how totally engaged 100% engagement was I in each of these conversations. And it's really hard to say because I was super engaged with Michael because I just loved it and I love talking about like the showmanship and the real showman in the world. And then with Ryan, it was something totally out of left field that was like educational and that I hadn't like thought about. I would not have paired the two things together in the way that you did, which I found to be really interesting. So now I'm having trouble deciding. Anyway, that's where I am. And that was I just wanted to tell you where I was coming from at the very beginning. And I thought it was going to be easier because, but I found that I was equally engaged. And now I'm like, damn it.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm
proud of us, Michael. I'm
glad that we're making your job really hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard. All right, but I'm going to do like a 3, 2, 1. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2.
Oh. Go. 1.
Center
Okay,
yourself.
I'm going to have to go with Ryan on this one.
Okay.
Because I did learn something new but Michael, I like enjoyed I feel like I enjoyed our conversation, actually, maybe even a little bit more. But I learned something and was equally engaged.
Aw.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations,
But
Ryan.
it was a very,
Thank you.
very hard decision.
I'm
going to be honest with you. I'm a little surprised when you talked about like the connection. I was like, oh fuck, I've lost. So I'm a little surprised.
I was engaged because I was like I hadn't thought about a lot of these things in the way you're presenting them, and so it was kind of like more surprising, and I was like a little bit on the edge of my seat trying to anticipate what was going to come next.
Oh, congratulations. All right. So, and what is our topic for next week?
Oh my God. So I feel like giving you a really random one.
Okay. I fully thought you were about to say, do you want to know? And I was going to be like, yes. You had this look of like, I'm going to keep this a secret.
I'm going to give you like such a random one, and I'm interested to see how you both speak about it. And it's like bonobos.
Bonobos.
Oh, fun.
I love that.
Do you mind sharing the origin? Like, how did you arrive at bonobos?
You know what? It was sort of random. I was like thinking, what am I going to do? And that just popped into my head last night, and I find them fascinating. And like, so I'm interested to.
You mean the chinos?
Not the chinos, although you could go in that direction. This is so much fun. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. And Ryan,
thanks
congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
For the crown has been placed back where it belongs.
Oh, please stop.
Where it's most comfortable.